right. Well, it is the beginning of Third World Airports, our political show by Adam Ginsburg and I, David Szomor. So I guess we'll just get into it and see why we're doing this. Adam, you want to start off?
Yeah, I'll start off. And first, I want to say it's quite the honor to be with you,
Oh,
Dave.
quite the honor to be with you, Adam.
So why I'm doing this, and honestly, you hear all these voices on um, political talking heads, and they call them hacks, and you wonder like, where's the voice of either the young people and also the voice of just ordinary people, people who are, and I'm not saying that we're ordinary people who in and of themselves have just live a life and aren't devoted to politics. And I feel compelled not to be passive. I really feel that, in this election where so much is at stake, we have to have a say in it. And to provide the teenage, younger view, I think is definitely imperative. So what's yours, Dave?
Well, politics has been something that's always interested me, and especially following this election, it's definitely grabbed my attention just to see how someone like Trump started out with 1% of the vote in polls and now is the Republican nominee. Just to see how this happened and why this happened really caught my attention. And following it through um, really changed me and my political views. I mean, to start off, I would say a year ago today, I would consider myself a hardcore conservative due to how I was raised. And now I'm a moderate. Now I think I'm a moderate after following this election. And just to show other people that teenagers have a view and they can change their view as well is crucial. And just to give our perspective and to see like us teenagers also can know things about politics. And just because we can't vote doesn't mean we can't be interested in the issue. So yeah,
All right, sounds good.
yeah.
If you guys want to know my political views too, can't let I have to one up Dave. No, I'd say I am left of center, but not definitely not completely a liberal. I do believe in, um, well, I guess I do not like, as Trump would say, political correctness. I think that people should speak their mind, although there is a point where you must be polite, and certain fiscal issues. I think I trend more towards the center on, but this election has it changed me? Yes, to see how many people in this country are truly disaffected and disenchanted by the entire political system, how they feel it's abandoning them. So yes, and let's get into it now. The
Oh
polls.
yeah.
The polls.
Well, even just election day. So
It's election day, baby.
we got to look into these swing states, man. I don't know how you feel, but I just don't know. This could go either way. Um, we both did our interpretation of the electoral vote and see where we think who will win and what will happen. And so, what did you get out of yours?
I think that Trump is going to have this election. I know a lot of people. You could talk to Republican columnists, liberal columnists, liberal talking heads, Republican talking heads, and as much as I really do hate Trump, I know his movement is. I know there's definitely legitimate things in this movement, but I just don't think he cares about the people of this country as a billionaire, who supposedly speaks for the common person. But I think that um, people underestimate his political strength, and I think he's going to pull it out, especially in um, Nevada, Utah, uh, in Georgia definitely, and I think Michigan is a state that he's going to win. Ohio and Florida, and these are all swing states. I think he's going to win. What about you, Dave?
Uh, well, I would agree that this movement, we talked about this earlier, how with Brexit and this populist nationalist movement that has gained momentum in Western Europe and here in America, it's definitely making a statement, and it makes it seem like this is Trump's time to win. And I think Americans are just sick of the establishment, so I would not be surprised if he wins. However, based on the way the last two elections have gone, where it's almost a 50-50 in the popular vote, but a landslide in the electoral vote, I'm just not convinced. Um, however, I don't want I want Trump to win, and I think that he will win I think it'll be close. I think he's gonna. I think the blue wall will remain the same, and I think the red wall will remain the same. But he's gonna win Ohio. He's gonna win Florida. He's gonna win New Hampshire. And I just think I don't think he's gonna win Michigan. I just don't see it. I mean, the latest poll shows he's ahead, but until today or that poll came out, it's always been
I
her.
mean, there's a lot of automotive industry workers.
Yeah, we have to keep that in mind. There's the factories and people want their jobs back, but there's also a huge population the Democratic Party has had a hold on in that area. But I think Nevada is the make it or break it state this election. I think by the margin of error, this state could go either way.
And you have it 268, 264, right? This literally swings the election.
It's literally the election, I think, is in Nevada's hands. So we'll see. I mean, starting around 7, 8 o'clock, we'll see those polls come in with the East Coast states. If he gets New Hampshire, I'll start to get confident. If I see North Carolina, I'll be more confident. But if those two are gone, then I think I can count it as done.
Dave, why do you want Trump to win?
Why do I want Trump to win?
Why do you personally want Trump to win?
Well, to start off let me just say this, in the primary process, I started out as a supporter from the beginning with Scott Walker. I thought he was good. I thought Marco Rubio was a typical Republican who I would be safe with being in office. And then as it dwindled down, I went with the constitutional conservative Ted Cruz, and then Kasich, and I did everything to not support Trump until he became the nominee. And even this summer, I was still the no Trump movement. However, with the upcoming Supreme Court justice being appointed and potentially 2 more Supreme Court justices being appointed, that argument that we need, as a Republican, we need someone to appoint the right people. I think it's a must to have Trump, and I hate Hillary with a passion. So I
understandable.
Just can't.
And I understand that you're choosing the lesser of two evils. Just like in my mind, I think that I would be choosing the lesser, though not much lesser of two evils, by choosing Hillary. And I was talking about this last night with my another one of my friends, and we were saying how with the nuclear codes, if you would, especially in an issue, a hot button issue, almost one that takes quick judgment. Hillary, it takes her 12 people and 12 hours to post one tweet on her Twitter account. Meanwhile, Trump is tweeting at 3:20 a.m. in the morning with no one reading them in advance. And so I think that, look, a Hillary president, of course she's corrupt. Of course they have all the baggage and all of the foundations, donations that come from other countries. But if she has people in her cabinet who will literally water down any decisions, or not even water down, but look through her decisions, at least it's a president by committee, and you hope the people will be qualified. Now, Trump, he could literally you've seen he's overreacted to many things during the primaries, and personal attacks that he perceives are on him by reporters like Rosie O'Donnell, Megyn Kelly. But I would not feel comfortable with him. He's gone solo this entire time. I wouldn't feel comfortable with him in the position of talking with foreign policy leaders, negotiating with them, and having control of the nuclear codes. I really wouldn't.
I mean, even today, which is, I think Donald Trump, I view him as a baby. I really do. I mean, today, was it yesterday, his campaign announced they have taken away his rights to run his Twitter account. And I do see how can someone run the nuclear codes if they can't run their Twitter? Now, I just have to believe that if Trump gets elected, he will appoint the right people in his cabinet who will hold him accountable. And if I were to vote for him, would be solely off people holding him down. And at one point, if he wants to be a successful president and to get things done, he's going to have to humble himself. And he will have to realize that when he goes in office. And I think he is smart enough to know you can't just touch those nuclear codes and play with them. It's a big deal.
Now, of course, you have to humble himself to be president, but at this point, they say Hillary's going to have no mandate to get anything done as president. But what is Trump going to be able to do? The House has its Never Trump movement from Republicans who will not pass a thing he does. And, I mean, the only thing that they probably would do is support his Supreme Court nominees.
Yeah.
And of course, Democrats won't support Trump, so he'll have even less of a mandate. So to get things done, the only thing is executive actions for him and for Hillary, basically.
Well, I mean, Obama's presidency has been executive action galore. So, I mean, and
Yes.
and what is he gonna do executive action on? That's the other thing. I don't know what he wants to do. I mean, with these trade
Yeah, but
deals, with tariffs,
you don't know what he wants to do, so why
Yeah.
are you electing him?
I understand that. Oh,
Don't worry,
all right, it's still recording.
it's still cool.
I didn't know that. We'll edit that out. It's all a lot of questions. I don't know what to say. You can take. I think the way I view it, at least I don't have to vote, so it doesn't matter. But the way I think Americans are viewing it, as people in Western Europe have, is the establishment's the establishment. They've been doing the same thing. They've been doing the same thing. And Trump, whether he is for the people or not, sends a message and tells a good story to the American people that they want to hear.
And they deserve to hear it. It's true. I mean,
They deserve to hear it, and is he the one that is going to deliver
it just
that?
sucks that he's the messenger. I don't think that he should be the messenger for such.
I would agree with you. I would agree with
And
you.
for the record, we were both at the same John Kasich rally at in
Iona College.
Iona College. So I like John Kasich too. So it's not just. I mean, I know we're disagreeing on Trump, but we do come from a similar background of supporting a candidate.
Yeah, it's you know what Hillary's gonna do, but there's also that question of, just came out today, like 2 days ago in the Podesta emails. She took $1 million donation from Qatar and did not record it when her job was to record every donation she received.
Agreed.
And as president of the United States, there are favors that she still has to return, and there are favors that she will still probably take donations, or who knows what she's gonna do. I mean, if you owe favors to countries that don't agree with our principles internationally, then you're putting the country's goals at stake for your own gain.
Agreed, but as she said, it takes a village, and meaning that at this point the spotlight will be on her. Any action she does will be scrutinized to a minuscule extent, basically. So for her now to return a favor, the media would be entirely on her. So I think that I mean, I hope this is wishful thinking, but for her to do anything now that would return the favor to another country, now hopefully it's just banned by the fact that the spotlight will be
But she's still hesitant to say that she will not take part in the Clinton Foundation when she becomes president.
She said that?
I mean, she hasn't said that she definitely will not have ties to it.
I mean, if
she's president,
I agree that she should cut it off.
Cut ties completely.
Absolutely, and honestly, she shouldn't take any of her aids from the Clinton Foundation.
I agree.
I think that
because you have people like Huma Abedin who she pays as working for the Clinton Foundation. So it's not. There's still favors being done within her own foundation.
Agreed, and really she should, as they say, I don't like this, but drain the swamp. But meaning, just look, if she has aides that are seemingly corrupt, or she's seemingly corrupt, she should show the American people that she's in this for them and not in it for her own gain, and basically cut ties to all the aides that,
And she's got to stop bringing examples of what she did for the people in the 70s and 80s and start showing, because I haven't seen it.
I mean, she was a New York senator in the 2000s and did try to pass farm bills for farmers. Look, she's been a public servant all her life. Trump's been a personal servant all his life, and now the roles are almost switching. He's trying to be a personal servant turned a public servant, and it almost seems like she was a public servant trying to use that for her own gain.
Mm-hmm.
Can you trust either of them? I don't think you can really trust either of them.
Well, we'll see. I don't know.
So what happens?
What happens tonight?
What happens tomorrow after the election?
Okay. Well, Hillary gets elected. Let's start with her. God knows what Trump is going to say. We don't know if he will accept the results.
Depending on how close they are.
Depending on how close this election is. And the worst case scenario is he tells his followers it's rigged and that they can't accept the results. And then you have people who are saying that it's God sent Trump down to save this country. And if they believe that, who knows what they're going to do. If he tells them to go riot on the streets, go intimidate people who voted for Hillary Clinton, it can be a scary situation.
We could be in a mini rebellion, honestly. Not that our government would probably end up, controlling it, but it would definitely put people at risk.
I would say so.
That's definitely worst case scenario. And for the next as you were saying before, one of the topics we want to cover is for the first 100 days of each presidency. What do you think? For a Trump presidency, I know he outlined what he said he was going to do in the first 100 days, which is try to introduce term limits for legislators. Try to eliminate lobbyists going from the government to personal foundations. I think that's all well and good, but to attempt to build a wall or whatever he's going to do, because right now the border is already 25% walled off and the rest is patrolled by immigration and border controls. I mean, it's obviously people want immigration to be controlled, but I think you'll see the markets crash. I really do. No one's going to have confidence in a Trump presidency.
Oh yeah, I mean you already saw it when he led in that tracking poll for the first time since May. European investors started pulling stocks out. So I do think it will have an effect on the market, but so did Brexit. And
not really the American as much as the British itself.
But it had an impact, an immediate impact. But they're bouncing back and recovering. I think that it's great. Term limits are great. I think that what he's standing for in those two things, those two aspects you brought up, are not hypocritical. Whereas you have someone like Hillary Clinton who's saying she will get rid of Citizens United, which is the sole reason Bernie Sanders is not the one running against Donald Trump right now.
I mean, the sole reason.
Well, not the sole reason, but
definitely a big reason.
I agree. Humongous reason. And
I think that as a whole, the corruption in our government it's at least at the Citizens United level that I know our social studies teacher, Mr. D'Amico, was arguing for it, saying if citizens want to combine and form and put their money together to support a candidate for a cause, then they should. But at the same time, this allows huge corporations to influence the election much more than the $27 voter.
Of course. And I actually have to do a project on this in my government class. But Trump did it without Citizens United. It's Bernie Sanders put up a fight against Hillary Clinton.
I mean, Trump super PACs have been,
without Citizens United,
have been putting out ads for him. It's not like he hasn't, in this election.
But he wasn't a Jeb Bush that had those super PACs from the beginning, and that's why there's something to commend there, and there's something some point that can be proven with that. But besides the point, I think those 2 points are something that if he can change, definitely make a mark on American government. If he can establish term limits, however, I don't know how it's going to happen.
I think one of the big problems that's going to be happening or occurring in the next 4 years is that neither president's going to be able to get anything passed, and or at least with a House that is going to be Republican, and a Senate that will definitely be very close, either 49-51 or 50-50, with the tiebreak as Tim Kaine, or as Mike Pence. But it's going to be extremely hard to get anything done in this country, and so I think that as a best case scenario for this country in the next 4 to 8 years is a unifying event, something on the scale of the moon landing, or even, God forbid, something that brings us together in a way that's worse. I really hope that doesn't happen. But you know what I'm talking about.
I understand. But I think where the House and the Senate Republicans disagree with Trump, I don't know. I think it's more on just not his economic views. I think they just disagree with the fact that he's the one representing the Republican Party.
His
the way he
character
carries himself and his character,
absolutely abhorrent.
But when it comes to helping coal mines, building that pipeline, I don't think the House and the Senate will disagree. Republicans will disagree with him on that. Will there be tremendous backlash from the left if he does those things? Absolutely.
But just as if if Ted Cruz did the same things, there would be backlash too.
Of course, but I think once he's in, Republicans have to take what they have, and there's still an opportunity to get things done.
If they lead everything, then yes, but the Senate, as the polls are looking right now, is going to be tied. And if he gets in, then I guess that he'll have the deciding vote. But there's still never Trump Republicans. There'll
still be a 2/3 majority. In the sense that the House, the executive branch in the House, will be Republican. But I don't know. I think in the first 100 days, the wall, we don't really know if he's actually going to
I think it's
pursue
more of a
that,
theoretical.
or if it's a theoretical, and he He said it on his campaign. He said these general statements to grab voters, and
And he said, and it's funny because almost a lot of the statements he said, he ended up walking back.
of course,
And so what that did was that appealed to extremists and then appealed to moderates who said the extremists would say, yes, he said build that wall. He said keep out the Muslims. And then
Yeah.
the moderates said, well, after that he said, I'm fine with Muslims. I'm fine with just, increasing our border patrol. And the fact that he walked it back and 71% of his statements were rated as false by PolitiFact. I just don't understand how you can have trust in a leader who blatantly lies. Just like Clinton does. I'm not trying to defend her. I'm just saying.
Because, once again, it's the demographic of the Republican Party. Uneducated white men is who he gets. And those people are easy to have you rally behind you, no matter what you say. That's why I think the Trump base, I think, is stronger than the Clinton base in core supporters.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's where this will play into the polls today. Trump supporters will definitely vote. And there's more of those than the Clinton core.
Although a lot of people hate Trump with a passion and are going to vote for Clinton just because they don't want Trump.
But vice versa. That's the thing. That's why we don't know. And then another thing that we didn't bring up with these polls is there's that 6% who still don't know who they're going to vote for. 6% of Americans are walking into the poll booth today who might just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo and just vote.
Well, you got to hope.
I would hope not. I would want to have faith in these people, but it could look like that. And that can sway a state like Nevada. That can sway a state like New Hampshire. So there's still some wiggling room for both candidates in these states. And that can even throw a state away like Michigan. So
I have Michigan as Republican, but Florida, that's an interesting state. We were talking about the uneducated white voters because it has a mix of Latinos, Hispanics, and a lot of, in the northern part of the state, a lot of white voters.
Yeah.
Not necessarily uneducated, but that state with 29 electoral votes is going to be huge for whoever wins this election. As you said, you think Nevada's going to swing it. I mean, I think just like it did in 2000, Florida could end up being the state that decides this election. Although Ohio has gone with the winner of the election like the past many elections.
I mean, as I said, like we'll see those states as they go down the East Coast earlier throughout the night, and the way I predict it to be, if these states line up red along the East Coast, then we're gonna have to wait for Nevada, and that's why I think that's the state that's crucial. Because if we see that New Hampshire goes Trump, North Carolina goes Trump, and if you have a state like Pennsylvania going Trump, you can call that the election if he wins Ohio and Florida.
I find it interesting as we mentioned this fact earlier in our prep for this, that more people have voted in Florida in early voting than voted the entire 2000 election, the contested election. And early voting has been, as you said, 40% of all voters
so far
in this election have voted in early voting, which I don't know the stats for previous years, but thinking of all that happened in the last 2 weeks, with the tapes of Trump before and then now the allegations of the reopening of the FBI investigation, which has actually now been closed, but so many things have happened. So what do you think about that?
I just think it's interesting that it takes two candidates like this for people to go out and vote. We had only 9% of Americans vote for these two candidates in the primaries. And now people are asking, how did we end up with these two candidates? And now they feel like they need to vote because these two are so terrible. Whereas we've probably had great presidential candidates in the past, and yet the voter turnout was 40%. And that's not even early voting. And now we already have 40% of the country.
I think it was 58% or something like that in the last election.
And now we already have 40% of people voting. So this could be the highest voter turnout in American history with these two candidates, which is just mind-blowing. I don't understand.
I mean, I can try to give you an explanation if you like.
Go ahead.
I think the explanation here that's that these two candidates aren't vanilla candidates. They both are extremely controversial and they evoke strong feelings. You either love Clinton, as there are many people who are with her, or you hate her. And then you either love Trump or you hate Trump. There's not really an in between. Now you could be like, I hate Trump so much, I like Clinton, all right.
Yeah.
But you usually hate one candidate, and such strong feelings are evoked. Like, no one really hated John McCain or Barack Obama. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was a more genial, more gentlemanly election, and McCain conceded, and they shook hands afterwards, and you know, the message of change from Obama really boded well for the nation, although the comeback has been disputed by numbers from both sides. But I think that strong emotions, that's the reason why. I mean, you can't. There hasn't, as you said, only 9% of voters in the primaries voted, but yet everyone has an opinion to weigh in.
And I think it just shows where America lies in this. The primaries were extremely important. I mean, we could have had candidates that were much more appealing. Anybody would have been more appealing than these two candidates. And this is what it took. And I think maybe this will be the change in future election cycles where Americans realize that we never want to have these two candidates.
Maybe it'll bring up primary voting, and it'll bring up the percentage of people who vote in their primaries.
I hope so. And we'll see what happens with this, but it just, I don't understand how it takes two candidates like this for people to go out and vote.
So we've had a conversation on this before, but and what do you think about the Electoral College versus a popular vote system versus a representational vote system? Because I was doing a little bit of reading about it after we talked about it the past couple of days, and I started to come to agree with your position. But tell me your position, Dave.
So my position has been and always has been just get rid of the Electoral College altogether and make it a popular vote system. I mean, I understand when this country was formed, it was a new democracy, it was a baby, and the Founding Fathers had to take care of it. Excuse me. And they probably had trust issues and they did not want to give people all the power. But at this point, when I become old enough to be registered to vote, and I, as a resident of New York who leans center-right, will never get the candidate I want in a presidential election, so my voice is nowhere as important as someone who has the same political views as me who lives in Ohio. And it also, when it comes to campaigning, I mean, the last few days, I would say, both candidates have only campaigned in those states that can go either way. No one goes to New York. I don't get to hear these candidates talk unless it's my primary.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend in New Hampshire, and Trump has been to this town of 6,000 people 3 times this year.
Yeah.
So just like what you're saying, but sorry, didn't
interrupt you. I think it's just more with a popular system like that, everybody's voice is heard equally, and then candidates really have to fight for everyone's vote. They don't have to go based on a region or a state as much as they have to now.
It's ironic because the Electoral College was supposed to protect against the tyranny of the majority, against the minority. And what's interesting about that right now is that there's no Electoral College for the primary system.
Yeah.
The 2 candidates that we have right now, you can make a case that for whichever one is voted in, the other side could claim that there will be a tyranny of the majority. If Trump is voted in, the left will claim that their voices will not be heard, and then if Hillary's voted in, then the right will claim that. So it's either you do the. I mean, I've come to agree with you. I think that people's votes as an American should be heard, not just as a New Yorker, not just as an Alaskan, not just as someone from Ohio, a Californian. But I think that in this country, it was never intended to be a true democracy, but now the times really have changed with social media and the polarization of the country, that maybe a true democracy, or at least in the elections, not necessarily making decisions, a true representative democracy rather than using the Electoral College is what we need.
Yeah, I hope that one day that's a question that will seriously be brought up. But as long as there's no term limits on state representatives and senators, and as long as the establishment is the establishment, why would they want to get rid of it? The electoral system is just as much as a tyranny of the majority system. I mean, we vote off. It's just off pluralism, right?
Well, pluralism is more when.
Sorry, off the majority.
Yeah.
So, 37% of Republicans can vote for Trump in Utah, or 37% of people can vote for Trump in Utah, and he can still win the state.
Right, exactly.
So that is simply tyranny of the majority right there.
It's more tyranny of the minority.
Tyranny
right
of the
now.
more. All right, I just screwed up for this part. But
Don't worry about it.
even the states
I
that
know what
aren't
you're
like
trying to
that,
say.
where like if you win 51% of the state vote, you get the whole state.
49% isn't heard, exactly.
So it's the whole American system is tyranny of the majority, and that's what they were trying to fight against.
Right. No, I see what you're saying there.
That's what. Apologies. That's the point I was trying to
No, don't
put
worry
through.
about it. All right. The last thing before we sign off on this show is, you're going to be going to college next year.
Yeah.
I'll be going 2 years, hopefully. What do you think, as a young person, because we are bringing the teenage perspective, as a youth in America, what do you hope to be the future of this country, and what do you see as the future of this country as it stands right now?
I mean, we saw the momentum of the Bernie Sanders campaign and that movement, and it seems like young voters are leaning towards what Europe is today. That scares me personally. I hope that's not the way it is going, and I hope it's just.
Why do you hope that?
Why do I hope it doesn't go that way?
Why is it scary?
As someone who is the child of first generation, I'm a first generation American. Both my parents grew up in communist Hungary, and it's funny because when they came here in the '80s, they came to escape that, and as these movements grow, they see the U.S. turning more and more into what they escaped. Not to that extent, but things like that happen slowly but surely. I just think the establishment has to realize this, and people are sick of the establishment, and people, the way our country is today, with the huge amounts of student debt, these passionate youths about the passion of the youth about other people makes candidates like Bernie Sanders very appealing. If the establishment can realize this and try to compromise, that's what I would hope would happen.
Which is sort of what, we don't really know yet, but Clinton did try to compromise with the Democratic platform, adopting many of Sanders' ideas, but we don't know yet what she'll implement if she's elected.
And I think just for next election cycle, we're going to need candidates, if they are from the establishment, who realize this and try to implement that into their platform.
Kanye 2020.
Kanye 2020. That can also be just as scary. But what about you? Where do you think this country's going, and where do you want it to go?
So, first, to where do I think this country is going? I think right now, as living in New York, in a Democratic state but in a Republican town, it's a unique situation because I get to talk with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're a Republican, and I consider myself, I guess, a Democrat. About, we get to talk civilly about situations when normally a lot of towns are just Republican or a lot of towns are just Democrats. Mm-hmm. I think, though, that this country right now is on a path that's extremely divisive. And that's not a good thing in any way, shape, or form, only because you have a lot of people who immediately distrust, liberals, and a lot of people who just write off many Republicans as just being uneducated, stupid white voters, which is what they're not. I think everyone has a point of view that's legitimate, but as it stands right now, going into the future, you're only going to see more polarization, especially if Trump or Hillary is elected, which, I mean, one of them is, barring doomsday scenario, one of them is going to be elected, but I think that's what the state of the country is going towards. And there, as I said before, there's going to have to be a unifying event of some sort, either a great achievement or hopefully not a bad event, but it could happen that unifies the country. Now, where do I want the country to go? I know that we disagree on some social issues. I'd say I am a social, as you would say, libertarian. I don't think that the government necessarily should get involved in the way people want to live. Now, I know gay marriage is basically, it's legalized, so that's off the table. I don't think they're ever going to turn that back. Take that back. Issues like abortion, I think that the government will, who knows if a Republican Supreme Court is elected, if they'll take that back. Mm-hmm. But I think as a whole, people should have a right not to be spied on by their government in the future. I think that, with technology that's going to be increasingly prevalent in people's lives, that it's a little bit scary. as a young person, not to be able to drive a car, to have cars driving for me,
Mm-hmm.
because as we've seen in this election, hackers have taken it over.
Oh,
So
yeah.
looking into the future, I think that technology, I think there's going to be a point where we say, look, we have a lot of technology in our country, which is good, but we don't need to implement either brain chips, which could be on the way. We don't need to implement, self-driving cars aren't bad in and of themselves, but you can't protect everything from hacking, and that's the problem, because we need to build a national trust in people. Whether even though there's thousands of car accidents a year, there's trust in driving and then inherent distrust of machines.
Mm-hmm.
And even going further into machines, who says that the taxi industry, which employs something like I think over 1 million drivers, is not going to get completely decimated by self-driving cars.
Yeah.
So you do have to take stock of people's lives and their livelihoods. So I really just hope, and for the future, that people just maintain their humanity above all, and they don't turn this into us versus them scenarios. They just remember that we're all Americans, and that even if we disagree, we're still united under the same flag and values.
Yeah. Well said. I would agree. We got to unite as Americans, and we'll see what happens tonight. And if Americans respond the way you hope to, or if they'll be divided as expected. But
All right.
thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Third World Airports, and we hope to see you guys again.
Thank you.